to give us the latest on Alabama, the good, the bad. I don't know that there's actually any ugly, but he's gonna update us. Good morning, Bone.
Morning, Gary. How are you?
Doing great. First, just tell us the officials that are in already for Alabama. Who has already sent the paperwork in that Alabama can check the box on?
Well, several have. Roydell Williams is already on board. Seth McLaughlin's on board. Kyle Edwards, the two of Alabama's running back commitments are already on board, along with Seth McLaughlin. Jaquez Robinson, the four-star DB out of Florida, he has just faxed in his LOI. Javion Cohen, offensive lineman out of Central Phoenix City, and Brian Branch, the Rivals 100 defensive back out of Sandy Creek High School in Georgia. Now, I think there's a lot more LOIs that are in. That's what I've been told, but there's a lot of signing day ceremonies going on throughout the day, and recruits have asked Alabama to hold off from announcing those LOIs. So we'll see what happens throughout the day, but I feel pretty good on pretty much everybody in terms of all the commitments. I think Alabama's going to keep all their commitments on board, especially the ones that are signing today, and then we'll kind of see how the rest of the day shakes out with some of these other big targets.
Yeah, we'll get to those in a moment. So you say you feel good about all the commitments, so that includes Tim Smith, the big defensive tackle out of Sebastian River, Florida?
That includes Tim Smith. I think he'll sign with Alabama today instead of Florida. And
everything looks good with Bryce Young too, then, I assume?
As far as we know, yes. I talked to Bryce Young, talked to his dad, and they tell me everything is 100%. They are on board with Alabama, so I'm not too worried about a last-second flip to USC or anywhere else.
All right, Bone. Let's get to the guys that Alabama is recruiting that have not made decisions or maybe committed to another school that are on the fence. Let's start with the running back out of Texas, Jace McClellan, longtime Oklahoma commit. You've been predicting a flip. Will that happen today, in your opinion? Will he sign with Alabama?
I believe he will. I think there's a lot of writing on the wall. I think there's a lot of talk about it really over the course of the last the last 24 hours. Of course, we've been talking about it for a while and kind of thinking that it was going to happen, and I believe it will. He's going to have a signing ceremony at around 5:30 p.m. today. That's when he's going to announce that. I think that's when he's officially going to announce. I don't see anything else happening throughout the day, but I do think he ends up signing with Alabama.
All right, what about Phillip Webb, the outstanding outside linebacker out of Georgia? Has long been thought to be an LSU lean. Alabama has hung in there with him. Any shot there that the Tide will get his signature?
Yeah, as of right now, I believe he'll end up going to LSU. I think Alabama made a really strong late run at him, but I think LSU is going to be able to hold them off and get a big commitment from him. And obviously an elite talent, a very great pass rusher, but I think Alabama is going to be just fine at the pass rusher position. You look at some other guys in the class that they've been able to get on board with Chris Braswell, who's a 5-star, William Anderson, who's had about 40 sacks over the course of the last 2 years, and Quandarius Robinson. I think Alabama is going to be just fine with outside edge rushers in this class.
Vision with Andrew Bone, senior recruiting analyst for BamaInsider.com, part of the Rivals.com network. It's National Signing Day. Alabama putting together another top 3 class, possibly could still challenge for number 1 overall. We're talking with him right now about guys that Alabama is involved with that are either uncommitted at this point or committed to other schools. All right, let's get the latest, if you've got an update, on Jordan Burch, big defensive end out of South Carolina. Some people think he might be the best player in the country. To say this guy's played it close to the vest would be an understatement. I mean, it just really has not put out any information on his recruitment at all. Now it's National Signing Day. What do you think he's going to do?
Gary, I have no idea. I mean, yeah, you do your best to try to find out everything you possibly can on your side of things, and then you ask every other side, and you get pretty much the same answer. Nobody really knows, or either nobody knows or somebody's really confident. LSU is extremely confident. Georgia's extremely confident. Clemson feels optimistic that he's going to go there. South Carolina feels like that, there's a good chance that he ends up staying home and going there. Alabama has been in communication with Jordan Burch. So it's one of those rare instances where, some people think they know what he's going to do, but I think nobody has a clue what he's going to do today, except for himself and his mother. His mother's been, kind of the, one of the big decision makers in this recruitment, and I think that, once he gets her blessing from whichever school he decides to choose, that's where he's going to go. So we'll see what happens. I think he's announcing around 1:30 Central Time today. And I like I said, I don't think anybody has a clue what he's going to do. They've played it extremely close to the vest the entire recruiting process, and they're not trying to let anything slip right now. It would probably be a bigger surprise if he went to Alabama, but at the same time, nobody really knows. But there's a lot of confidence coming out of the Georgia side and the LSU side. So I think it's hard to ignore that. But nothing will surprise me today with Jordan Burch.
Boy, LSU is just having a magical season on the field and in recruiting. Boy, that'd be a hit for them. I can give you this update because Keith Dobbins from WVOA 23 is at the signing ceremony, and he just sent me a clip of Jamarian Latham signing his national letter of intent, of course, as expected with Alabama. I don't know if it's been sent in yet, but he has signed Bone there at his signing ceremony. So you get ready to mark him off.
Jones Bell just signed his letter of intent as well.
Okay, so they're rolling in. All right, visiting with Bone about guys that Alabama would like to get a commitment from or flip. We've updated you already on McClellan, Webb, and Burch. I do understand, Bone, am I correct, that J.J. Pegues, the tight end out of Oxford, Mississippi, did sign with Auburn this morning. Is that right?
He did sign with Auburn. There was definitely some talk late about Alabama, and it was really going to depend on if Alabama really made a strong push for him. And yesterday, Darnell Washington really kind of threw a wrench in things when he announced that he was not going to sign on Wednesday, and decided to hold off. And from what we've gathered, Alabama's still very much in the mix there. So Alabama had to make a decision. Were they going to push hard for J.J. Pegues? Or were they going to take a risk and potentially wait on Darnell Washington? It looks like they've decided to wait on Darnell Washington to see what he's going to do on January the 2nd. Because you take another tight end, you end up getting two tight ends on board, today, and that really kind of diminishes your chances with adding a third tight end in Darnell Washington. So it looks like Alabama's going to do the risk and wait and see what happens with Darnell Washington on January the 2nd. And if they don't sign him, there's still some other guys that are out there at the tight end position that have decided to wait until February to sign. Michael Henderson, who's an Oklahoma commitment out of Texas, is going to take has said he's going to take an official visit to Alabama in late January. Of course, that will probably depend on what happens with Darnell Washington. And then Brandon Frazier, who Alabama went and saw a couple weeks ago, also out of Texas, is a former Arkansas commitment that has been receiving a little bit of interest in Alabama. So they'll wait to see what happens with Darnell, and if they miss on him, they'll look at those guys and maybe anyone else who might still be out there.
Okay, Darnell Washington, January 2nd is when he will announce and sign. All right, Arian Smith, wide receiver out of Lakeland, Florida. All signs point to Georgia. I don't know if he's signed yet or not, but what do you have on him?
Yeah, it looks like Arian's going to announce around 11 a.m., maybe 11:15. Signs point to Georgia. I'm predicting Georgia for him.
Couple of guys that Alabama very much would like to would love to sign, but have already announced that they're waiting to February. That's the wide receiver, Raheem Jarrett, who's committed to LSU, but Alabama's going to continue to recruit him. Of course, it's still a couple months away before he will make his decision. What do you think about him?
I'm sorry, who did you say it cut out?
Raheem Jarrett, the wide receiver that's committed to LSU but waiting until February.
Yeah, so I think with Alabama likely missing out on Arian Smith today, I think Raheem Jarrett becomes very important to Alabama's recruiting class, and there's definitely some talk of him looking around and has shown a lot of interest in Alabama. Took an official visit to Alabama back in October, so no more trips for him to Tuscaloosa. You never know if he might come back for an unofficial visit, but Nick Saban did not do an in-home visit with him this month, so he saved that and will go and visit with him next month. So I definitely think Alabama is still very much involved with him.
The defensive lineman McKinley Jackson out of Lucedale, Mississippi, was dominant in the Alabama-Mississippi High School All-Star Game. He's got a lot of teams that are going to hold a scholarship for him until February, including Alabama. What's your gut feeling on McKinley Jackson?
Well, it's going to be an all-out war for him in the month of January because he's one of those few prospects that a lot of schools are going to really focus in on because with Alabama probably only recruiting 2, maybe 3 more guys in the entire month of January, a lot more focus, a lot more attention, a lot more recruiting will be centered on McKinley Jackson. So, as of right now, I mean, I like Alabama's chances in potentially landing him in February, but at the same time, it's going to be a tug of war match between Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Texas A&M. I think Ole Miss will eventually get back in it. He says they're out of it right now, but would not surprise me one bit to see them really get back involved with him over the course of the next few months or next month or so. Another school to watch out for, though, that's trying to get him on campus is Georgia. Matt Luke. They got a really close connection, and I've already heard Georgia's trying to bring him in for a visit possibly next month. So that's something that we'll continue to watch as well.
All right, Bone, I know you're multitasking just like I am. I appreciate you jumping on with us. What's your gut feeling on this class for Alabama? I know the rankings will be done after all the information's compiled, but feel strongly this will be a top 3. Is there any chance that Alabama could challenge for number 1?
Well, I think a lot's going to depend, really what happens with Darnell Washington here in a couple weeks. Maybe what happens with Jordan Burch. Obviously, a lot of schools are kind of waiting to see what happens because LSU, Clemson, Georgia, all those schools are really fighting for for that number 1 spot, along with Alabama. As long as Alabama can hold on to the guys that they have committed, and get Jason McClellan on board. And, maybe you make a surprise and get Burch. You never know how high it can go. But I definitely think that Alabama closes with a top 3, top 4 recruiting class today. And, we'll kind of wait and see how it finishes up over the course of the month of January and the first week of February.
A lot of chatter, Bone, about this being the best linebacking class in the country. What about running backs? If McClellan gets on board with Edwards and Williams, will this be the top running back class in the nation?
Yeah, probably so. I mean, you get two Rivals 100 running backs on board in Roydell Williams and Jace McClellan, and then you have Kyle Edwards. I mean, outstanding running back group. I mean, I think you probably have to go back to the what year was that? 2013 or 14? I can't remember exactly when you had when Alabama signed Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara and Tyron Jones and Alti Tenpenny. That was you kind of knew that somebody was going to end up transferring out of that group. I mean, obviously all of them ended up leaving, and Alti Tenpenny unfortunately passed away. But you look at Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara and what they're able to do in the NFL. That's kind of what a lot of people try to judge it by. So that was a special class. So we'll see how this class ends up transforming over the course of the next 4 years.
Well, it's certainly not the same as it used to be with this early signing period. And I remember, and you do too, just a few years ago when it was so much excitement in February. And now that February period is just kind of clean up a little bit. But a lot going on today. Bone, I know you'll have updates throughout the day at BamaInsider.com, and also people can follow you on Twitter and Facebook and all the different areas that you're available at. Give the listeners the update on how they can keep up with what you got to report today.
Yeah, well, please follow us on BamaInsider.com, which is part of the Rivals.com network. We got a great deal going on today, and we've had it going on throughout the month. Where you sign up for a 1-year membership, you get a $75 gift card to the Nike Team Store. So you go ahead and do your holiday shopping there. And you follow me on my Twitter handle at Andrew J. Bone, and follow us on our Bama Insider YouTube channel as well.
Thanks a lot, Bone.
Thanks, Jerry. See ya.